Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me.
Well, and also, I happened to mention just Bill Maher ripping Kamala Harris on Friday and Van Jones applauding. And it made me furious, Mike, and it's how we got here, right? Van Jones is supposed to be the CNN liberal. Bill Maher supposedly was a liberal of some sort. But what did he say? He said Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 elections called 107 Days. It should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. She has every right to tell her story. And by the way, she was not whining. She made some good points that everybody else had made. Yeah. It was an incredibly short runway. And it was actually a very close race in 107 days. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Such a perfect example of the double standard that was set for Kamala Harris, yes. Which is like, be interesting, but don't be interesting like that. Say something good. Don't say that. It's ridiculous. Like, she could have just handed a copy of her stump speech from the campaign to a ghostwriter and been like, write me a book and make me money. And instead she told her side of it. I'm so tired of she can't say anything. Like, I was on Leland Vitter's show the other night on News Nation, and he was like, showed an excerpt of her making fun of Doug for not planning a date night once in the middle of the campaign. And he's like, Mike, wasn't Kamala's biggest problem that she couldn't win over men? Like, how does this make her appeal more with men? And I'm like, she's ribbing her husband. Are you married? Like, ribbing your husband, I think, is an essential part of any marriage. At least mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it just reminded me of the misogyny and the both sides do it, media that got us here in terms of, I think he was talking about, Biden, wherever you were on that Biden should have gotten out, he should have gotten out. I mean, clearly she did have too short a runway. Do you know what I mean? Like, at any rate, it just...
the sin of that 107-day campaign is that we didn't have a full, vibrant Democratic primary. And had we done that, either Kamala would have won and she would have been a better, stronger candidate with a better, stronger campaign, or somebody else would have risen to the campaign and the party would have been stronger for it. So that's the real sin, I think, of Biden deciding to run for re-election.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think she would have won it too. But at any rate, Mike, let's talk about where we are now. The other thing that must kill you is all of the headlines that have been reproduced of Kamala calling absolutely all of this. Project 2025, him turning the military against people. And in the headlines, they would call her a liar. In the coverage of the campaign. And now here we are. One of your tweets, multiple videos from this weekend show ICE tear gassing Chicago police officers. Things like, it feels like things are spiraling fast across the city. I'll say, Black Hawk helicopters in the middle of the night, zip tying naked kids. I mean, I don't even know.
And the Chicago Sun-Times is reporting this morning that a Border Patrol agent shot a woman. And then they covered it up and lied about the whole thing. But he was basically trying to murder this woman, and they're lucky she didn't die. Right. She's lucky she didn't die.
And I saw the video yesterday. Was it an older woman just asking questions, and they rough her up and handcuff her?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
they're out of control. And you played a clip from Governor Pritzker there that I think is really important, which is none of this is making anybody more safe. Because what they're doing is they're removing peaceful immigrants who live in this city. The people of Chicago don't want this. And there's another story from the Wall Street Journal yesterday that Trump has taken so many federal officers off of their normal beats, which means going after sex traffickers, drug traffickers, sexual abusers, terrorists, stuff like that. So those investigations are being closed down so that they can go terrorize immigrant communities in cities like Chicago. So you're less safe. We're going to have more drugs. We're going to have more sex trafficking. We're going to have bigger issues because the government isn't doing its job. It's just going after people because of their skin color, and that's not right.
As you were telling me yesterday, and it has been reported, calling in phony 911 calls to try to draw Chicago cops to help them with whatever they're,
Yeah, they claim that there were a bunch of guys who were trying to jump over the fence at the Broadview Detention Facility south of here, and they pulled up, and it was a camera guy from a news station.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Well, you said I'm sitting here raging about the ICE raids happening in Chicago. You talked about the Black Hawk helicopters, blah, blah, blah. You just said, what the hell's going on in this country? How is that not fascism? How is this not state-led terror and violence? It absolutely is. And when you have Stephen Miller calling people, random judges and whoever, terrorists and insurrectionists and whatever, I mean, and sending red state militias into blue states, tell me that's not trying to incite whatever you want to call it, a civil war, insurrection act, martial law. I mean, what stage are we at, Mike?
Yeah, and well, then they want to lecture us about political rhetoric and violence. Like what they want to do is they've been working the refs with the traditional media for so long that they complain and whine about everything to the point where the press has to give them a double standard where they get more favorable coverage than the left does by a mile, in my opinion. The standard that's set for Republicans is so different than the one set for Democrats. But we can't call them fascists when Donald Trump is literally doing fascist things, and it's things that are relatively small in the context of the broader thing, but he's going after Jimmy Kimmel, using the FCC to get him kicked off the air, going after his political opponents, going after Harvard. But more importantly, he's consolidating power in the federal government, leveraging that power to go after his enemies, to go after Democratic cities and states. So we've got masked, unidentified ICE agents driving unmarked cars, grabbing and pulling people off the streets right now. That's the reality of what's happening in Chicago right now. And the nation, I think, is not happy about it. The polling numbers are very negative on militarizing our cities, going after peaceful immigrants like this. So it isn't working from a political standpoint, but it's dangerous because he's unchecked by either of the other branches of the government.
Yeah. Let's talk about our favorite subject here on the Stephanie Miller Show, and that is your body.
Oh,
now,
stop it. Oh, my God.
Louise Miller.
Oh, like you haven't. Okay. You just said, I just thought, I was struck by what you wrote, Mike. You said, I've been sitting here with the fact that I don't use my body in this fight very often, and that has to change. Some of that's connected to what I've done to my body over the last 20 years. For those who don't know, I used to weigh 600 pounds.
Wow.
I spent years trying to kill myself with food, buried in anxiety and depression, but over the last 4 years, I've lost over 300 pounds.
That's awesome.
I'm completely changed my life. I've become a much stronger person, mentally and physically. That mental strength has been critical over these last 10 brutal months, but now it's time for my physical strength to step the hell up. I'm thinking seriously about what it looks like to be a physical presence in this resistance. And for me, that starts right here in Chicago, showing up for these families, and these kids are being harassed and terrorized, targeting them because of their skin color, etc. I keep saying that, use your white privilege to show up at these things where, brown people may feel scared to show up, So good for you just talk about that a little bit.
Well, I'll say a couple of things. I was reflecting on Friday because I got a bunch of alerts at about 3:30 before I was supposed to go live with Kirschner on my show. But there were all these reports of schools that were about 15 minutes from my house with ICE agents out front trying to pick up families while they were picking up their kids. Oh. And I called my assistant and I was like, cancel the show. And I got in the car and I drove to the school that I heard that it was happening to. Now, by the time I got there, it was already over. So there wasn't anything for me to do. But as I was driving back, I was raging. And this was where I wrote that piece that you read on a voice memo while driving my car back because I was so upset, or at least wrote the bones of it.
Yeah.
And I'm upset. I think that you know this because you have your show. You get a lot of people that applaud you for speaking out about what's happening in this country and calling out.
Not enough, really, in my opinion.
Not enough. We need more step heads everywhere.
Just kidding.
But one thing I was reflecting on is am I doing something bold or am I doing something safe? Because it's safe for me to be in my office on a phone, talking to you, talking to somebody else and crying out for what it is. But there are other people who are putting their bodies on the line. So then I get home and I watch an alderman get arrested who's demanding a warrant. I'm watching people who are helping pull ICE agents off of innocent people that are being pulled off of the streets. And I got to find my version of that. Now I have to figure out what that means for my body because I'm still recovering from what I did. For those who can't see me, I still weigh about 300 pounds. I'm a lot better shape, but I got to be better at it. And so tomorrow I'm meeting with one of the schools near my house to talk about what they're doing with ICE because they have a significant Hispanic population of kids there, try to figure out where I can plug in and be useful. But I say this on the show all the time is we're going through a tough time and people keep looking for one person that's going to solve everything or one big idea that's going to solve everything. And it's a million acts of resistance. You don't know what you can do in the moment, but just try to make the next best step. So for me, I'm going to try to figure out some way to be useful. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I think it's valuable, but I want to be physical in this.
I think this is a critical conversation for a lot of us in this, whatever this is we're living through. I think a lot of people are using, who knows, food, alcohol, drugs, because it's such a stressful time. And I think you also make a good point. This is a mental health tip. You said, here's the truth, rage without action rots. It eats you alive, and I refuse to let that happen to me. I keep posting pictures of me biking or with my big sister who was out here last week. You got to do what feeds your soul. You talked about kayaking with your son. I love my cycling club. It's so critical to not let the rage eat you, to do something that feeds your soul. As Bella always says, go touch grass, right?
You have to be careful about the cycle of guilt that comes with it too. Because when I was out kayaking with my son Saturday morning, it was after all the stuff with Friday where I wrote that piece and got it out. And I was sitting there being it's so peaceful on the lake right now, but there are people that don't feel safe. And I was feeling guilty while out there with my son. So it's a never ending cycle of trying to figure out how to be useful, but present with my family. But fight for people I care about. And it's just, it's a lot. And I think you talk about people numbing themselves, like you hear a lot of people numbing themselves on alcohol and food and drugs and stuff like that. But people are also numbing themselves on social media. Like we are doom scrolling on our phones, absorbing a ton of information about every atrocity in the Trump administration right now. But is that actually useful? I'm not sure that it is. Like, I think we all need to put our phones down a bit more and try to be physically present in the world around us. And that doesn't mean you show up to the facility necessarily, but you find your way to do it.
To quote another lesbian, Tracy Chapman, if not now, when? But this is what you said. I'm done scrolling and stewing. I'm done shouting into microphones and timelines. That has its place, but it's not enough. Not when helicopters are hovering over kids' bedrooms, not when families are being torn apart in the middle of the night, not when agents in armed vehicles are pointing guns at neighbors who did nothing wrong, but stand up and say this isn't right. I mean, more and more people are quoting Anne Frank's diary. Talking about what's happening in the streets and families
I'm sorry to interrupt, but like I just heard a story from a friend that I ran into at this WeWork that I'm at right now, who was telling me that a neighbor of theirs is Hispanic, and their parents were taken in an ICE raid, and the kid was left behind. So they have the kid at their house. They've been taking care of him, and taking him to school for weeks now, and they have no idea where the parents are. Well, people have been disappearing, and we're just okay with that.
But this is what I love about this is your ethos, this liberal helper. You just said, I don't know exactly what it looks like. It might look like helping up with school pickups and drop-offs in the morning while juggling my own son's schedule. It might look like finding a way to the Broadview Detention Center, joining the protest. Maybe it means helping to bring this community with me to document what's happening. I mean, I have a friend that, his ex-girlfriend has a special needs daughter, and she doesn't feel like they can bring their housekeeper because she's brown, and they're afraid to take her. So he took them to the beach because she needed a white person, so her little girl doesn't, this little special needs girl doesn't sit inside all day, because they're afraid to go out with a brown skin person that might get snatched, So, but I mean, you just said this is the line where words end and presence begins. I don't know yet what it's all going to look like, but I know the rage in my chest isn't going to make me rot inside anymore. It's going to move. It's going to show up. It's going to fight back, because if we don't, who will? I mean, here we are again, right? We're the ones we've been waiting for.
Yeah, I keep coming back to Pete Buttigieg said this right after the election, but it was like, somebody's going to do the work. Why not you? And I come to that. That's actually I've told him this is part of the reason I started Endless Urgency, because I was frustrated with the Democratic talking heads, the Democratic strategists that get on TV and they give the worst possible advice for how to win. And I was like, somebody's going to do it, so it might as well be somebody that knows what they're doing. And I didn't expect it to take off the way that it has, but I want to be useful in this moment. Yeah. And I think we all want to be useful in this moment. And what happened to me in the first Trump term was I was so upset about everything that was happening, and I was nose to the ground. I was working for Kamala Harris almost the entire time, and I was nose to the ground, but I was not taking care of myself. And because the work was good, the career was advancing, my marriage was fine, but like I was not a full and complete person. And so finding that balance between living my life, being a good dad and a good husband and a good friend, and being able to do the things I want to do, but also be useful, is really something I'm wrestling with every day right now, because there's so much to be angry about. And I'm carrying it all like right here. And by the way, congratulations on losing that much weight in Chicago. That is really hard, because the food, Chris and I both live there.
Really good.
I mean,
that's got to be the hardest city.
Pizza alone.
My rule is 80-20. As long as I'm making the right decision 80% of the time, I'm good. And
there you go. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Oh, and also congratulations for being the first person to tell Laura Loomer off before the Supreme Court did.
I'm definitely not the first person to tell Laura Loomer but I did tweet yesterday when it came out that you can add the Supreme Court to the long list of people who have rejected Laura Loomer.
There you go.
All right, Mike, always a pleasure. I can't wait to come back on your show too. It's just
absolutely.
I texted him right after that. I'm like, I miss you already. Talk to you tomorrow.
Oh, she got clingy on you.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
You didn't have to miss me for very long. It's only been 12 hours.
Right.
Please, Endless Urgency is the name of my. Follow his Substack and everything he does.
Subscribe to his podcast.
EndlessUrgency.com. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Love you, Mike. See you next time.
You too. Bye.
There he
Thanks,
goes.
Mike.
Aww. We love him too much.
Yes.
Oh, come on. You're as obsessed as I am. It's a competition between you, me, and Laura Loomer.
He's a hot man.
Who's more obsessed with Mike Linnell?
He's a hot man.
He is. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you both, Yahweh and Yesh, because I wrote a book, and it's about you guys, but it's really about some of your fans, the mean ones, the racist ones, the homophobe ones, the ones who don't like women. You guys come off really well in the book. Jesus, you come off really good in this book.
Yeah, I've heard that when people talk about the Bible, they tell me that God, you come off really well.
Said no one ever.
Jesus comes off really well. Yeah. No, no, God, you're very impressive, God. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there's some moments, Almighty, where you're kind of the alcoholic step God. You know, if you know what I'm saying. But Jesus, he's chill throughout. Like he's proof of evolution.
But John, people have been twisting my message, right? And that's what this book is about.
It really is, Jesus. I mean, I've gone through this book of yours many times. You never said anything against the gays. You never said anything against women having to be forced to be pregnant. I mean, you're not against abortion. You're against the death penalty, Jesus. I know that. You're like your dad in that you tell us to welcome the stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the right people are twisting my message left and right, and we can't take it anymore. So we're so excited to have this book, a really rock solid resource to show people what the Bible actually says. And that's why we love you, John. You're spreading our true good word.
Simon & Schuster's Avid Reader Press presents Separation of Church and Hate, the bold, hilarious new book from John Fugelsang, available September 9th and on sale now at your local independent bookstore or your favorite non-evil website.